to see you. Thank you, Colin. What a joy it is to be with you today. Now I was given 10 minutes to talk about why can't Congress cut spending. Now, no disrespect to the great folks here at CPAC and all their work they've gone to organize this, but I don't think it's going to take 10 minutes. It's really quite simple. In order for Congress to cut spending, it requires three essential traits: the will, the resolve, and the political courage. And as someone recently from North Georgia told me, they said, "Tom, y'all are a few clowns short of a full circus up there." So for me, the question is not, why can't Congress cut spending? I think the question for all of us is, what if we don't? What does the future hold? Now, I'm just a North Georgia country boy conservative, pro-life, pro-gun, tax-cutting, constitutional conservative. Not one who grew up in wealth or politics, but really quite the opposite. Very simple, humble beginnings. I grew up in a single-wide trailer on tar and gravel road, but I had parents who instilled in me that desire to dream big, to work hard, and achieve more than they'd ever achieved. I grew up in an America, much like you, in which a boy like me could go from the hall of a single-wide trailer to the halls of Congress. And this story, and millions of more stories like that, like yours, is the great American story. But it's a story that is now in jeopardy, and I think we all recognize that. I believe we're at a decision point. We're at a crossroads here in our nation. And as we consider the choice, you need to know it's a choice between two futures. It's a choice between two destinies. And each of us has a responsibility, because we're each a scribe in time. We are the writers who will decide the next future, a future of debt and dependency, or a future of opportunity and prosperity. The choice to close this book on the great American story, or the opportunity to continue writing the story of America as the greatest nation to ever exist. So it's the first choice. Let's talk about that. The decision to end this great story we call America. Well, it looks a little bit like this. We ignore those foundational principles that set us apart from so many others. Principles of limited government, lower taxes, personal responsibility, and liberty and justice for all. And when instead we allow this continued erosion of those most critical pillars, we then begin yielding to those who believe we need to empower government instead of empowering the citizen. We yield to those who believe in punishing success but rewarding idleness. We yield to those who promote equal outcomes instead of equal opportunities. We yield to those who define the rules of fairness by using the rules for radicals. We yield to those who see the Constitution as an afterthought instead of the anchor that it was intended to be. And finally, this one future that ends the story as we know it is if we listen to those, or we yield to those who believe that it's just one more compromise. That's all we need is one more compromise, and it'll fix this big mess that we have that took decades and decades and decades of compromises to create. If we yield to them, the story will soon come to a close. Now, the end result in this future, we find ourselves once again in bondage. Centuries distant from the War of Independence, we will now find ourselves dependent on the Middle East for our energy, dependent on Asia to finance our debt, dependent on the central government for our basic needs: paycheck, grocery money, mortgages, student loans, yes, health care. This is the future that is not the America that we know. This is a future that does not resemble the beacon of liberty that we were gifted with. And it will be the chapter in the American story that concludes with the words, "the end." But there is another choice. There is another future. There is another destiny. It is that better option, the brighter future, because it's the road that we envision. It's very different than the one I just discussed. It's a continuation of this great story. It's a new chapter, a new beginning, because it's the other future, the one of opportunity and prosperity. But this road, it means we've got to make the tough choices now. This is the road that means we've got to reduce the size of government. We've got to scale it back. We've got to fit it back into the box that it was intended to be in. It means rolling back regulation, cutting federal programs, simplifying the tax code. This is the choice that unleashes the American people to do what we do best. And that is strive for a better life, fight for a better future, and battle to create the jobs, the opportunities, and the businesses that we so deserve. If we take this action now, the chapter we'll be writing today will be a story of triumph. Hard work, sacrifice, determination, overcome adversity. Common sense will conquer liberal ideology. Common sense like that of my son, who when he was 10 years old, as we were in the kitchen debating allowances, my son says, "Dad, I don't understand. Why should you be paying me to do something that I should already be doing?" And then he added, I thought, wow, this is incredible. I agree. And then he added and he said, "Doesn't that take away from what mom can buy groceries with?" What an economic theory. And I thought, man, that's phenomenal. But then he wasn't done. He said, "Wouldn't it be better if I made something and I sold it and I added to the family?" Common sense. A 10-year-old gets it. John's common sense is all across this nation. We get it. So as I close, know that we are the authors. And every day we wake up with a pen in our hand, writing our own story. And collectively, together, we are writing the American story. And so far, it's been one of the greatest reads ever put to paper. And if we confront this latest challenge, this fiscal crisis, and we face it down, it will be yet another great chapter in this American story. And even more importantly, the story will continue. Because when our time is up here on this earth, we'll be able to pass our pens on to the next generation, to the Johns all across this country. We'll give them the opportunity to continue the story of this beacon of liberty, the story of the greatest nation to ever exist. It is a choice of two futures. Close the book or turn the page. The choice, it's ours. Thank you. God bless you.